Alrighty, so I think we're good to start. Recording has begun. Thank you everybody for joining us for the third session on the third day of BigBlueButton 2022. So I'm super pleased to be joined with Christian and Paul. And so they're going to be discussing about the BigBlueButton integration into Drupal, which is one of the world's most flexible content management systems. And so I'm not going to take up too much of your guys' time here. Christian, I'll pass the microphone off to you and let you take it from here. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Brendan. So yeah, my name is Christian. I'm Managing Director of Think Modular, and next to me is Paul, is one of our developers who's also working on this BigBlueButton integration, and which I want to present to you today. Maybe very briefly about our company. We are a small company in Vienna with 15 people, and also we work with a lot of external people, and we call ourselves a digital learning agency. So we build portals, mostly learning portals, learning management systems, collaboration and conference portals. This is basically our business, and we use Drupal a lot for this purpose. And that also made us think about how to integrate video conferencing in this kind of business. Drupal BigBlueButton bridge. Why? So the first question is, why would you want to integrate Drupal in BigBlueButton in Drupal? Because yeah, you have lots of integrations. You have Moodle integrations. There's WordPress integration. So what is and there is also Greenlight that is very nice, and we use it a lot actually. So what is the unique selling point for a Drupal integration? Well, Drupal is a major flexible framework that you used to build web applications of all kinds. Let's say, think about event platforms, matchmaking solutions, web shops, library sites, academic portals, university portals, learning sites, and so on and so on. So you build very flexible sites that usually fancy a unique user interface and architecture. And then you want maybe to bring video conferencing in this project. You want to have it in your portal, in your university portal, very individually placed. And this is where the Drupal bridge comes in. It's not a solution that you would use to quickly get started. I think then you would maybe use Greenlight. That's the easiest one. Or if you have an LMS, you should use the Moodle integration. That's better. But if you build a very unique portal with very unique functionalities, I think then you are in the corner where you would use Drupal, and the Drupal BigBlueButton bridge would be interesting for you. Drupal BigBlueButton Bridge is an open and stable open source project on Drupal.org that is developed and maintained by Think Modular, and also together with our partner WITS. I just posted the 2 URLs there. You can check it out. And there are 4 modules that you can use to install Drupal on your site. It's also linked on the conference description page, where you can check out all those 4 modules. But I would like to show you a little bit how that works. And my first question for you is, what is your Drupal experience? So how about, did you ever use Drupal? Do you use it rarely, or you implement some projects, or maybe you are a Drupal shop? So what is the Drupal experience in the audience today? So I see the responses coming in, and I see also that we have quite a mixed audience. That's interesting. Also, some people with first contacts. I see. That's nice. So let me publish the results. I think that's fine. Thank you very much. So you see that actually the majority of our audience never used Drupal before. So I think it's important also to have a clear picture of why you would use it, and when it makes a lot of sense to think about this. Let me say a few words about Drupal then in this case. It's, as I said, it's one of the most flexible content management systems. It's often seen as a framework. It's not so like WordPress. You install WordPress and you have a blog. You install Moodle and you have a learning management system. You install Greenlight and you have a ready-made portal where you can manage your rooms. This is not how Drupal works. If you install Drupal in the beginning, usually you have nothing, and then you have to install developing. It has an API-first approach, and it features a very generic architecture. It's based on entities that are configurable and fieldable. It provides a module and theme architecture, and above that, it also provides a distribution architecture, so that you distribution system, so that you can build distributions that you can redistribute kind of flavors, Drupal flavors, and also the BigBlueButton World BigBlueButton site is for world.bigbluebutton.org is basically built on this Drupal distribution open social. That's basically kind of an event, conference, or social platform kind of Drupal site. You have endless configuration possibilities. I mean, there are always 100 ways to achieve the same goal, and it mostly is fun if you want to be very flexible and if you have some programming skills too. So it's not so useful if you just want to set up a blog very quickly. It's more useful for larger and more complex projects. So just to give it the right context where this would be a good idea. And now I would like to show you how that works in reality. And I also prepared a small demo. So let me see. I will share my screen and show you a few things how that. So if for the ones, I mean, I will start a little bit in the beginning because some of you have never used Drupal. So I think there are some things that I should be clear first. In Drupal, you usually, when you do a Drupal site, you usually think a lot about architecture because, as I said, when you install a Drupal site, there is usually nothing. And then you can start to configure what is your site like, what type of content do you have on your site, and you can define content types. And in this case, I'm just have like a development site in Docker on my computer here from the BigBlueButton world. In this case, usually we also have some content types. So that's usually something that you have in Drupal. You have some content types, and we have a content type that is called event. And this content type is the content type that we use to create the events. And when you are visiting our sessions today, you went through this content type event. The content type event is basically this page that you see on the world button page when you open one event. That's the event content type. So if I click here on my session today, here, that's basically the event. And in the background, this event has, of course, an architecture. It has fields. As you can see, I click here, and these are all the fields that the event has to be described properly, all the metadata, if you want, and different functionalities built in, like attachments and so on and so on. And this is one entity in Drupal, but there are others. So you can see there are other entities, a basic page, a topic page. There are groups. So you have groups entities that where you can have groups, flexible groups, and so on. It's very, and you can build it in a way that you like it. So you can define, I want an event, but another person says, I don't need any event, I want to have a meeting. So it's possible to change it all. And this is also where the BigBlueButton integration comes in. The BigBlueButton integration is not a module that you install and plug in and it works, but you would have to configure it first a little bit in Drupal way, because this is how Drupal works. So you have to first basically install a virtual event configuration into the entity that you're using. So I can add it, for example, this one here. This is the virtual event. Let's say I'm plugging the BigBlueButton into the event, and I'm saying it. You can use the event. You should plug it into the entity event. You should plug BigBlueButton into the entity event. But I could plug it into anything. So this is really what Drupal makes it so flexible. I could say I want to have the BigBlueButton room to something else attached. I want to have it attached to a vocabulary, or I want to have it attached to a group type. So I can attach it to anything. I could have a group that always has a standing BigBlueButton room with it. So you see, this is basically the way you would have to create this. You would have to attach it into the right entity. The ones who are using Drupal know what I'm talking about. For the others, it may be a little bit complex at the moment. Fred, you're raising your hand, please. Or there's some chat question I should look at. Okay, fine. So you see that's basically the first step. Plug it into the right entity. And the second step is here, when you install the module, you have this kind of configuration here on the side. You can configure some display settings. event display settings, they are now there. And then you can say, I want to see the recording in the event page, and I want to say it's a video player. I want to have it as, or you can use other configurations, like linked thumbnails, like links and so on. It can be configured. There can also be a join meeting button in the event, but we are not using this because we also have a block that we can put on the side to show the button. And the ones who use Drupal know what that block is. Of course, the others, I will show it to you in a minute. So I can configure the display settings. This is the second step. And then the third step is we have some additional configurations that we can configure. So for example, we could say recordings are for admin only. We can say what is the recording access level default. So who can access the recordings? This is one thing you can configure as a standard, and you can decide what is available to the moderators to choose later from. And you can also say the BigBlueButton button should appear. The button to open the room should appear immediately, always, or 5 minutes before the meeting starts. So you can do some standard configurations here, or when the button closes. And there is also the possibility to say there's a standard welcome message, a standard logout URL, and standard message to moderators, and so on. So these things you can configure in the beginning for the whole site. So that later, when you go into the specific configuration of one event, that you already have a standard that is applied, and then you can change the standard, of course. I will show you how that looks in the case of our meeting now. And once I've done this configuration, one step is missing. I told you that there is a block for the event join meeting button. So you see here on the side here, there is a join meeting button on the right side. And in Drupal, this is in a block. There is a block area where I can put different blocks. So to make this work, I can go to the block layout, and I can basically go to here, a certain region that I should know, of course, complementary region. This is a region on the right side. And then here I can simply go to virtual, and I will find different blocks, join button block. We're also preparing a statistics block that would show you how many people are online and so on, but that's still in development, so that you would have a immediately visible feedback, how many people are online, is the event running, and stuff like that. But the BigBlueButton join button block is already here, and I can place the block, and it would be here. And the result is basically when I create a new event, through a new event, I can just say, here is a plus and new event. Then I have this form with my event data, for example, the type, the title, the image, the description, the time of the event, full-time event, from when to when, time zone Vienna. The system features a time zone management, so it's always shows the right time zone, location, which group is it in? If it is in any group, is it public? Is it community? Is it anonymous people can enroll? So you can configure very many things. But then we come to the configuration of BigBlueButton. This is a virtual event that is now basically anchoring into this. And here I can activate it. And you see now I can basically, I have not put any standard welcome message, so it's empty. But I can set it also here, welcome message, logout URL, mute on start, always accept. So I can basically configure all of this again here and save it. And then in the result, I will not save it now, but in the result, I will have this meeting like it is here, like you have used it just now, because you're using it at the moment. And you just can click here then to join the event. That is basically the result of this. And this basically then connects to BigBlueButton in the background. Of course, the BigBlueButton keys are also basically in Drupal. There is a key management system in Drupal. So I'm not showing these keys, no worries. But if I click here on the keys, I can basically configure the different keys. And there are also options to have them basically encrypted and stuff like that. So that's basically a little bit how this thing is implemented and how you can implement it. Maybe for the ones who use Drupal a lot, it will be simple. For the newcomers to Drupal, it might be a little bit complex, but I'm also open to your question. So maybe there are some questions in the chat. So this will be great to offer to our clients as part. Yeah, for sure. So I think it's a very good and stable module that works. And it is integrating with, it is fully, I mean, it has a lot of features with OpenSocial because we use OpenSocial as a lot, but the basic module is agnostic. It doesn't, you can use it in any Drupal site. It's not you're not depending on using OpenSocial. You can use it on any site that is Drupal based and configure it. Of course, as it is Drupal-like, you would have to do a little bit configuration work to make it run. It's not something that you put it on and it just spills out something that works. It's supposed to be configured. So how would others start using it? So yeah, I mean, if you are a Drupal site builder, then you would install it on your Drupal site. In Drupal, you have this, basically you have these modules that you can install, and they are usually installed through Composer. I'm not sure, the ones who use PHP projects maybe know Composer. You can install these modules in Composer. They are all on Drupal.org, so you can install them from Drupal.org through Composer. And they are basically these 4 modules that are installed here, that you should activate all of them. And when you install them through Composer, they will also install the right version of the PHP library from BigBlueButton, so that you can basically use them. So you have to install them, configure them correctly, and then you can start using them. Any other questions? So maybe to show you Drupal.org. If you look here, virtual events, it's the basic module. So there are 4 modules that are needed, and virtual event BBB, virtual events, and then virtual events BBB and virtual events local keys that has the key management basically, and then the social virtual event BBB. If you also use OpenSocial, then you get some additional features that basically bring the whole OpenSocial experience within. Yeah, so basically for us, the reason to invest here was because we built this kind of portals and we needed some kind of very flexible video conferencing solution inside of those conferencing portals. And then BigBlueButton was the first choice because it's also open source and can be easily integrated. It doesn't have a big licensing issue, and you can also adapt it. And that's, you can even brand it a little bit. For example, we push the logo through. If there is a logo on the site, it's also going through BigBlueButton automatically. So you can do a lot of things, and that's also why we choose to invest in this technology. And yeah, it works for us. It works very stable. Is it possible? So let me see. Is it possible to administer all sessions of a conference by a team without giving them permission to change sessions of other conferences? Yeah, it's possible. So with OpenSocial, you have the whole group management as part of this solution. So you can create groups, and these groups can have administrators. So I have a presenters group in BigBlueButton in our conference. This is now on my demo side. It's therefore probably a little bit slow. It's not, it doesn't show any pictures because it's just a development site. But here you have members, and the members can be moderators. They can be administrators for just this specific space, and there they can create events. They can change events, but they cannot change events in the other space. So you have the whole group management solution. If you create a new group, you will see how flexible this is, especially in selecting the right levels. So you can create a group that is public or only visible for the community or only for group members, and you can also decide who can see the content. And then when you create a new content, again, you can choose what should this content be in terms of right management. So the right management is totally flexible. It's one of the most flexible right management systems that I have seen in this space, and it allows you totally to let's say do this. So we have like a number of portals now running with the solution. Conference portals for We have one portal for the African Union, for example. It's a learning portal where they use this, and there is another portal for a city network and for different type of conference solutions where they use this as a basic solution to run their conferencing, and that's very neat. We also have developed a small module that sends out the Outlook calendar invites. So that's something we will still put on Drupal.org. It's not yet published, but that basically brings you kind of a better Outlook integration. And of course, also we have a vision to go forward with this. So our vision basically is to have a very, very deep integration in calendaring systems so that you could even synchronize the calendar of the site with your calendar with your desktop application calendar, whatever calendar you're using, if it's Outlook calendar or the Apple calendar or whatever, so that you could sync it and have the meetings in your calendar. That's one of our visions, for example. And of course, we want to integrate all the BigBlueButton features that come through the API. So I think we implemented some of them, but we still work on even using more of the API abilities. And we are very keen to, for example, push multiple slides and things like that. So we are still open for questions if there are any left, or you have any. Yeah, I think I would, for those who use Drupal, I would propose try it out. I think it requires a little playing around in the configuration as usual with Drupal. I mean, if you're a Drupal developer, you know this. I think you should be able to go through. We plan to do a small video tutorial how it's configured because it will help you in the first step. And of course, we also plan to make the configuration even a little bit simpler. At the moment, maybe it's still a little bit complex, but once you have done it 1-2 times, it's not very difficult. And for the end user, it's very simple. I mean, the end user who adds an event to the site, for them, it's not complex. They just can configure the Drupal meeting very easily. Just in the site builder configuration, let's say, which is still a little bit complex, but it's also something that we intend to work on. And for the others who've never used Drupal, maybe it's a good time to try it out, especially if you have an interesting project, an interesting platform project, portal project. I think it's an amazing platform. You can do lots of things. I wouldn't use it, as I said, for a simple blog. It doesn't make sense a lot. You could use WordPress. That's much easier. But as soon as you want to go in different directions and you have lots of, let's say, ideas, Drupal could be a good framework to go with. Yeah, thank you very, very much for coming to this event. I very much enjoyed. Thank you for having me. And I think I would wish you all a nice conference. And if you have any questions, you can get in touch with me. I think the contact is, I will put my contact here, but it's also on the platform. Feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. Also with the module, or if there is any problem with the module, you can even use Drupal.org issue because we are supporting it. So if there's any issue coming in on Drupal.org, we would also react to that. And we would basically also maintain it. So if there's any bug or anything that comes, we usually try to work as quickly as possible to fix it.
I totally agree. We are actively maintaining all the modules, and we can't wait to see more people using this stuff because I think BBP is really a good software to use, especially for conference. And we can't wait to get inputs from other users. They might use that software as well. So thank you very much, and thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Paul, for coming with me.
Thank thank you both for amazing talk and discussion and everything like that. I think there's a lot that people took away from it. I know I certainly did. So just checking the time here, we have about 6 minutes left. So what I would recommend is if anybody wants to stick around, converse, have some chats before the next session begins, you're more than welcome to. We'll leave the room open. I will, however, stop the recording.